Ladies and gentlemen, Sav Angel, welcome to Vandenberg Air Force Base and the DC Designs F15 Eagle. It's definitely a fighter jet, as you can tell, and I'm recording this at 3 AM my time. It came out today, and I'm not going to spit a bunch of facts to you about the F-15, other than it being one of the most versatile American multi-role strike fighters. It's served in multiple theaters, Alaska, Middle East. No, Alaska's not a theater, but it's served in the winter in Alaska with the US Air Force. They're a fantastic aircraft, carrying air to ground, air to air. They're versatile, two-seat strike fighter. Now, this has been a pretty anticipated aircraft, and obviously limited by 2020's subsonic abilities, so it can't go fully supersonic as it should do. However, I'm a little torn when it comes to this aircraft. Not only is it a bit of an FPS hog, I've been doing some flying around in it because I wanted to do a better show than my last jet flight. I've been doing a little bit of flying around in it, getting used to it, and the D and E are included, and it includes multiple variants technically within it. The D is a lot more analog, obviously, it's an older aircraft. We're not going to look at that one today because essentially everything that's the same with this is the same with that, in realistic terms. Now, what we are going to do is start the aircraft up, which is surprisingly simple. So let's go down to our console here. Let's turn our battery on and avionics on. So they are all on. Parking brake is on. And before we start the engines, I'm going to show you a couple of things. We've got engine covers, chocks, a guard, and GPU. We'll pop the canopy for a second and we'll go outside. We're at Vandenberg, as I mentioned, and none of those visibilities have appeared. That's interesting. Pretty sure I toggled those on. Well, that's a good start. They worked when I was at Edwards Air Force Base. Maybe I left them there. Interesting. It seems like a lot of things also only work when the engines are on, which is unusual. Especially when it's things like engine covers. Anyway, we'll carry on with our start procedures whilst we just uncheck those items, which appear to be not wanting to work today. So, fuel cutoffs to... Wait, open. I want to be open. Do I want to be closed? Open. Yes. We want to go to our engine startup instruments, which are over here. We're going to crack the throttle an inch, make sure our parking brake is set, which it is. And we're going to go 1 and 2. We'll watch our engine instruments here. Now, unlike the real one, which has a bunch of information on these screens, these don't work. So many of the buttons don't work. You've got autopilot functions, lighting, other equipment that you would want to use in the aircraft is workable. Some of these factors work, and you'll notice this is kind of pale. We'll get back to that. Let's close the canopy. And whilst I'm here, I'm just going to quickly flick these on to see if the engines make a difference. They do not make a difference, unfortunately. That has been weird today. I'll probably try and show you the D at the end and I'll put those things on. Cockpit views are reasonably decent. Engines are coming up to power. They're not up yet. We'll just wait for them to fully come online. Oh, I needed to open the ramps. I didn't do that. Intake ramps. Make sure you put those open before you actually start your engines. So that can happen. Right, so the engines are powered on. We'll turn those... Oh, they've automatically shut down. So we actually... Yep, we are good to go now. Okay, so we're going to taxi out to the runway and we're going to set this thing for a spin. And you'll see a couple of the issues I've... Oh, hello. There we go. So, of course, it all has the full suite of... Hi, I'm a camera. Either way. Right, parking brake is disengaged. Aircraft handles... Jesus, van. I could have shot you. We'll taxi out to the runway, which should be dead ahead of us over there. It's just... Whoa, taxiing with a very powerful jet is quite the proposition. I'm trying to remember where the runway is. It's behind us. Okay. So we'll taxi out over there. Follow the taxiway. Should be a nice simple proposition. there are a number of issues I'm seeing. This is an expensive add-on. It's £26 to £27 from Justflight, which means it's probably going to be in the $30 range. Not going to lie, for a $30 add-on, I'm expecting quite a bit. Now, sure, there's 2 variants, but with a lot of the functions not clickable, yes, I know things like radar won't work in 2020 right now, but I was expecting a few more functions, like a few more buttons to do things or to work, or even simulate something. Now, that isn't the case. Most of them, as I showed you earlier, are unclickable. Granted, there are likely going to be patches for this, because it is a fairly new instant release, and it's one of the few jets. We'll actually just turn here, a little early. Hello. Yes, not technically meant to go here, but I want to get to this taxiway here so I can get a bit more runway. Yes, frame hog, not great, considering how simple the systems are. I'm surprised it's a frame hog. Also, I've turned myself down from ultra to very high settings for this, and still 20-25 FPS on a Ryzen 7 2700X and a 2070 Super graphics card with 32 gigs of RAM and 500 meg internet. So, should not be experiencing trouble with the sim. Don't normally. This is kind of hoggy. Now, like I said, most of the systems don't really do much. If anything, it's very simple, almost kind of a, control easy type effort. This isn't even the runway. What am I doing? Down there. Taxiway. Blathering on here, talking to you whilst I'm getting lost at Vandenberg Air Force Base. Overshooting taxiways, because taxiing jets is hard. The aircraft does perform well. It performs what I would believe would be realistically within the constraints of 2020, so I'll give them that. My biggest criticism of the aircraft overall... Now, obviously, I'm fine with it not having full systems complexity. I'm cool with that. I like that, because it means I know what I'm doing with it. I'm not a jet fanatic. This isn't DCS. I'm not expecting that. Now, maybe I don't expect a few more systems for the price tag. Yes. Textures look good. Texture quality is decent. You've got other cockpit views here, which I will show you once we're airborne. Or actually, I'll show you them now, because if I go to the camera functionality, I can go to showcase. No, not that one. Cockpit. Where would I do this one? Because... co-pilot view. I can put myself in the back seat here. And of course, you've got all the Rios, or the weapon system officers' systems here and instruments. Obviously, you wouldn't fly from this view, even though you technically could. He has the systems to do so in emergency, but obviously he wouldn't. If anything, this actually might be better, because I can see the artificial horizon, which I'll get back to. Let's go back to the pilot. Okay, so we're taxiing down to the runway threshold here and I'm about to kill some lights, so let's make sure we don't do that. The HUD is incredibly pale. Now, all the screenshots in the manual are either in really cloudy or dark conditions, and it looks great. We're in fairly normal daytime conditions, right? Would you assume this is fairly normal daytime? Yeah, you would. Anybody would. Once we get airborne, you'll see how you can't see the top half of it and you're almost already losing the heading tape. That is a problem, and you'll soon see why. I almost have to fly off the ground speed indicator on the MFD here to know what's going on. So let's taxi out into the runway here at Vandenberg. We'll get this thing airborne. Okay, we're stopped. And let's go. Imagine Top Gun theme here. So we're looking to start rotating at 140 and pull back now. There we go. Gear up with positive rate. And bye-bye HUD. Now this could be realistic, I'm not sure. It doesn't feel like it though, especially as I'm meant to use this for a lot of my quick look flight instruments. It really does pose a small problem in knowing what the heck is going on. So the aircraft is very nimble. We do have the ability to deploy our flight refueling system, which is that one. Let's go outside. There's the door on the wing, opened. Let's close that again. Oh, hello. At least we can nudge our cameras back to normal pretty quickly. Now, the burners kick in pretty early, and obviously we're not supersonic. That's not a thing we can do. But the aircraft does actually behave pretty well. Obviously some weirdnesses and eccentricities with extremely high-speed flight in 2020. I can understand that. I can appreciate that. But look at, where's my hood? Where is my hood? It does not exist. Does not exist. At all in the slightest. Now, let me zoom in the cockpit out a little bit to even see more around the frame. It's next to impossible. And we're already up here at, I think, if I can see my altimeter, 7,000 feet. So I'm having to go off the small instruments below the 6-pack on the actual aircraft, because I can't see this unless I'm pointing at something like the ground. If I'm anywhere near 2020's skybox, it's impossible to see. Let's deploy the spoilers, slow ourselves down a little bit here. 564. So Vandenberg is off to our side there. Let's keep the spoilers in, because I'm just going to turn it back in and land here. I don't want to spend too much time sitting around flying this thing. It flies like a jet, as you'd expect. Let's keep some power on here, so I don't make the same mistake I have in the past. Roller into the heading here. Now, obviously, I'll be doing a military pattern and a brake, so I'll be going over the runway at 1,000 feet. 4G brake to the downwind, and then banking it in with when I've deployed gear and flaps. Just going to off heading a little bit here, so I'll just roll this in as I lose some speed. Okay, we're actually at good speed here for full flap deployment. Let's roll the heading straight, and I will show you the D model in a moment. The aircraft is not bad. I do like it. Again, there are some idiosyncrasies, which are... I don't know if they're a problem for me. I think for the price, I would expect it to be better. There'd be more. I'm definitely not expecting this pale, kind of meh hood. This feels completely against purpose. Now, this could be a setting I have, but again, I've tried different presets in 2020. And you'll note I'm flying slightly better today because I'm using my X-52. I had to dig it out of storage to test this thing properly because I figured the F15 deserved it. So we're about approach speed here. Give it some spoiler. Nose up. Wait for the main gear to touch. Close the throttle. And touchdown in the center line. It's a great aircraft. The price, I think, is steep. I really think the price is steep for what you get. It's pretty. So very pretty. But it's like a stripper. Not, you know, an artistic pole dancer who's incredibly physically fit. Like a... just... It's got big boobs that are mostly plastic, and it's really, really pretty. But essentially it's... not really much else. Obviously pole dancing is incredibly acrobatic. It's insanely talented and physical fitness requiring. I digress. I like it, but I don't like it. It's a good aircraft, but it's got flaws. Hopefully we'll see some patches to this. I expect we will. I hope we will. The hood being one of them, because unless I've done something horribly wrong and there is no settings in the manual for brightness for the hood, I don't really know if I'll fly this. Anyway, let's go take a look at the D, shall we? Okay, so we're on the ground here at Edwards Air Force Base, and we're in the D model. Obviously, you can see there's whole different systems here. We'll put the avionics and battery on so you can see those. Also, last thing I forgot to do was the generators. Totally recommended when the engines are running. Now, let's see if the game wants to allow us to see our ground items here. No, it doesn't. Now, they worked the first time I was testing this. They're not working now. Even with parking brake engaged, they are not appearing. That is weird AF. Those should simply be a case of toggle and on. Awkward. Let's cut the engine. See if they appear now. No, they don't appear. That's just weird. Also, there's a weird ambient glow around the aircraft with its shadowing. Not sure if that's the sim doing it. Probably is the sim doing it. But this is the D model, of course. Still A2... Well, no, this is the single-seater, I should say. And, of course, in the cockpit, things are a little bit simpler. We have a lot more analog instruments, which might make it easier to fly. And you do get a bit more information here on this display regarding your speed, so you're not as reliant on the hood. Which is, again, a disappointing problem because it should be brighter. Because we've got brightness here. You know, brightness, day, night. It seems to be stuck on night brightness. Because none of the actual reticle controls function. Of course, we've got heading select for autopilot functions. Course select. Day-night brightness. Come on, give us a brighter option for the daytime for the hood. Because that would be a simple change. It's swapping out a texture, emissivity, depends. It just does not display very well at all, and it looks terrible. The aircraft overall, I think, is ruined by the hood not being bright enough. Again, I can't tell you why those ground features aren't working. They were literally working for me when I was testing before I started recording. They worked just fine. And, don't know why they're not. It is a beautiful aircraft. I think it's amazing. It looks so good. And I've noticed sometimes when you start at a parking spot, it will sometimes start with the engines running, sometimes with them not. It decides for itself. However, would I recommend buying this if you like jets? Yes, because they'll blatantly, obviously update it and patch it. Will it disappoint hardcore jet nerds? Yes. Will it satisfy I just want to go fast Ricky Bobbies who would like to just fly an F15? Probably. Up to you. Again, I'm just trying to be honest here. I have nothing to gain from this. I wasn't given a copy of this. I'm not trying to crap on the developer. I understand how hard that side of things is. Do I think there are things here that could have been spotted in beta? Yes. And beta should always be done by somebody who is not the developer, because you yourself will always miss things because you're too familiar with it. Been there, done that. It's a work in progress is what I'll say, and I hope it's in progress. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye!